Hey everybody, welcome back. I am lucky enough to start later again today at work, so I'll be able to talk at you guys. I hope everyone's doing well. Obviously, there's always a lot going on, as we know. So I wanted to talk about one thing first and foremost. So this is on record of Pam Bondi saying, if we prosecute everybody in the Epstein files, the whole system will collapse. Um, So we're going to probably hit a lot of this as we start getting further into these disclosures. Um, and we have to understand that A, the elites are going to, I don't want to say elites, sorry, parasites, controllers are going to do everything that they possibly can to stop this from coming out. So they're going to use manipulation tactics to keep us docile and complacent. So this one is saying basically our way of life is going to collapse. And that may be the case, but what are we defending here? What is the point? Sorry, we're not as upset by it too. What's the point of maintaining this if it's all built on the blood of kids, for God's sake? So that's the first one. I also have a little video clip.
Public reads these files, they feel kind of sick. I think that's a natural response. And then they ask, how come nothing was done about it? Or can something be done about it now? How would you respond as a seasoned federal investigator?
Well, their reaction is appropriate. It's sickening, the things that have occurred. And the other question is, why hasn't anything been done? Going after him the way it would be for anybody else could have opened a Pandora's box and a national security and global issue that we've really never seen politically or really any time in history. I would just tell people that you have to look at the totality of this. You may want this released, you may want something to occur, but there's obviously something more here than just a criminal who was supplying women and drugs to the powerful and the elite.
So here we go again. It's another fear tactic. Our national security will be compromised if we disclose who these people are. I mean, if that's the case, burn it all down. This is terrible. We are now at this point defending these people that have done unthinkable things in our best interest. That doesn't make any sense. How would we ever? That makes us complicit. How are we going to sleep at night knowing that we don't know the full story? Or it just is the way that this works spiritually. This is like our collective shadow work. So we need to pull this stuff out. We need to look at it in the light. We need to see what happened so that we can heal it and resolve it and forgive ourselves and forgive these people. I know that's unthinkable right now, but that's the reality of it. And I saw, and I couldn't find it again. She may have deleted it, but Anna Paulina, Luna, whatever else, she's got a million names. She said that the reason that so many of those names had been redacted was because a lot of the victims were then being used as scouts for future abuse. Now that I have a hard time with that because, of course, we all want this stopped. But I also see how it works with SRA survivors, MK Ultra survivors. All of these people are traumatized beyond belief, and then they have altered personalities. They dissociate and create different personalities in order to cope with the pain. And they do things that they don't necessarily want to do. And even still, these people, if they're under 18 or even if they are 18, think about all the things that you did when you were 18 that you wish you could take back, just where you weren't mature enough to handle certain situations and you may have acted like an idiot. So, first and foremost, I want us to remember that we are compassionate beings. This is what separates us from them. So, first and foremost, I really want to be compassionate toward this whole situation, especially people that are victims. I'm not excusing the behavior. At some point you do make a choice, but who knows if they were in their right mind. Sorry about that. And who knows if they've been threatened? We don't know the whole story. So with all of this, try and be compassionate when you look at these people, because it's just not a good situation any way around. There's a lot of control going on, and it could very easily be that they are presenting these people as perpetrators so that we will condemn them. We just don't know. My gut is that he probably did use them as recruiters, which when you're that age, and a lot of them came from broken homes and bad situations, and you have to do certain things to stay alive or keep your family alive. Not that it's right, but let's just try to be a little compassionate with the situation, because we don't know the whole story. With the people that are blatantly honoring their God, whatever that God may be, an ET, I still want to try and have compassion. A lot of them, it's a generational thing that goes back hundreds of thousands of years, a long time. A lot of them were raised disassociated. A lot of them were raised with different personalities. A lot of them were raised controlled. A lot of them are raised thinking that the things that they do are okay. So even though I firmly stand behind what I say and that these people need to be in jail, and I do think a lot of these people do need to be in jail, I do also have compassion for their backstory. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't pay for what they've done, but I do want to understand that they are still souls, at least if they haven't given them up. And we just have to kind of keep that in mind. So that's my 2 cents on that situation. But that doesn't make things okay. So just try and remember that we are people, we are compassionate, and this is why they use us, is because we do have that light and the compassion. So that's that. So, and now my next thing I wanted to kind of expound on was kind of my background. Yesterday, we talked about how I kind of broke out of the frequency spell with Danan, and then my mission kind of became clear. But I wanted to add a smaller story behind that from something else that I experienced right after that situation happened. So literally the day that I felt like I had broken out of this frequency spell, I was approached. Well, I don't want to say approached like it was in person, but I received an email saying that I had been added to a group on Reddit, and I hadn't been active on Reddit in many years at that point, probably 2 years. I shouldn't say many, 2 years probably. So it's not like somebody was looking at my comments and decided to add me in or whatever. So this guy, I don't want to name any names and I don't want to name any groups, but reached out to maybe 10 people, I would say. This guy said that he was in contact with the lady, Chris Bledsoe's lady. I've seen pictures. He has pictures. He's got videos. It's not like this guy is just making this up. But he said that he was contacted these specific people because they have some major role in ascension. Again, there's an ego play. He also said that they call him the Sword of Aldebaran. Now, when we look at Aldebaran, what I suspect happened, the history of Aldebaran is that it's a reptilian Anunnaki race, basically. Probably that Enlil, from our records, Enlil, maybe either established or came from, one of the two. And I know that they can shapeshift. Prior to this day, he said he was the Sword of Aldebaran. The lady is there with him. He can call orbs and contact orbs. I want to talk about orbs, first of all. So usually those are neutral conscious energy packets, is basically what those are. I see them frequently around people, or I even see people give them off. So that is one thing. So if they were a regressive group, they could easily call these orbs and teach people how to call these orbs. Anybody can call these orbs. So this isn't necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It's just that they can call orbs. They're conscious energy pockets. So then he showed me pictures of the lady. Now, it wasn't like a physical lady. It was a light. And the lady said, "We are always with you." And she chose these 10 random people for him to reach out to and start this group, because we had some major role in Ascension. Now, and right off the bat, I'm like, I don't know. Everybody's got a major role in the Ascension. And then right after that, when he said he was called the Sword of Aldebaran, I instantly was like, you are being deceived, sir. I'm sorry, you're being deceived. This is not a positive group. I didn't want to shatter his dreams, and he did seem, it was an ego hit for him, and that wasn't my point, but I would have not helped him had I not told him that I highly knew that he was being deceived. So once he kind of took that hit, that day I had a lot of kickback from them. The first thing was I do in-home consultations for work. So I was getting ready to leave. It was a really oddly empty street that I was on. Like, there was nothing moving. It was quiet, really, really super quiet. It was almost like I was in a weird pocket, like a frequency pocket. And I hear like a rumbling, like go, 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 go. It sounded, what went in my head was when an alligator or crocodile is underwater and you see them vibrating and the water's bouncing off their back. That's exactly what it was. And so luckily, as always, I try, like I said yesterday, if you keep yourself centered and you meditate every day, you're in alignment, so you know what to do. So at that point, I blasted light, got in my car and left. So that was the first weird one. I was like, this is weird. Then later that day, I was at another house, and with these consultations, I'm obviously close to people. I was talking to this gentleman, and the pupils of his eyes went vertical. And then I noticed it. I kept going. I was in alignment. I was not scared. I never get scared of these things, but I knew I didn't feel like I needed to react. He did it again. His mother-in-law is sitting right behind him too. I did not get the feeling she knew what was going on. He was purposely standing in front of me, right in my face. His pupils went vertical again, looked like a reptile. And I, in my head, said, "Oh, those are reptilian eyes." And then they stopped. He went back to normal, and it was fine. So at that point, I was like, okay, so these guys aren't liking me very much. They're trying to intimidate me. I'm not intimidated. I don't care. So move on from that. And I want to say, I've talked to Katie Bishop about this too. Just because you see reptilian eyes doesn't mean that they're necessarily a bad thing. That one felt like a setup. I think they wanted to scare and intimidate me. Um, it didn't work. So that moved on. Then the next morning, I was walking my dog. I get up really stinking early. It's almost profane. So it was probably 5 in the morning, 4:35 in the morning, I think. I was walking my little dog, and I hear a lady crying, sobbing. And the picture I got in my head, for those of you that are telepathic or have, I guess, spiritual intuition, the picture I got in my head was a woman holding a baby sobbing. So the way that my neighborhood's set up, it's kind of bizarre because there's groups of, I'm in a condo, so there's like townhomes, an apartment building that are also condos, and then more townhomes. So there's basically like 3 blocks of this setup, and behind it is like a creek that has probably a 12-foot depth to it, maybe. So, and then behind that is a neighborhood with fenced houses. So um, as I was walking my little gem, Renata, um, this lady is, I hear the lady crying. I see the picture in my head. Then I start walking back to my house, and it's sticking with me the whole way. And the way that things are set up, the only way that she'd be able to be crying like that is if she was at the bottom of the creek. This is, and I don't get scared of anything. Nothing really rattles me. Once I got closer to my house, I did start feeling creeped out. This was the only time probably in my life that I ever started feeling creeped out. I was like, this thing's moving with me. I just need to get to my house, because I was like, I don't know if it's trying to lure me in, which it probably is. That's consent. Or if it's trying to attune. That's what another thing that was concerning to me is that it was trying to attune to my frequency so it could find me a little easier. Either way, I just shielded and went home. So as we start thinking about how these things work in general, when you're over the target, you start to get targeted. That's kind of the thought. So at this point, and this is also in regard to the lady, I started speaking out about the lady at that point. Then I started getting targeted. I've heard hissing in my house. I've heard all kinds of stuff. I got a little bit better about my boundaries, spiritual hygiene, and I suggest everybody do the same thing if you are speaking out on any of this stuff, because there was another one. This was I heard people talking to me in my head while I was asleep, and I woke up during it, and they were saying disparaging things, and I was like, who is this? And then it switched to another person that sounded more intimidating, and they were also saying disparaging things. I was like, get out of here, and I disconnected. And so it's really important, especially before bed. It's really helped me sleep-wise. I'm not a big sleeper as it is, but to shield, establish your frequency, establish your boundaries. And this is probably the best I've slept in my life, because I always did shield, but I wasn't great about it. It was kind of sporadic as I needed it. But now that I'm doing it frequently and with a regimen, I sleep so well. I sleep better than I ever have in my whole life. So I do think that's a good thing for everybody to do, is kind of set up I always ground. You shoot your cord down to the middle of the earth and have it wrap around the core of the earth so that you're grounded, so that you've got a good support. And then I also I tap the sun every morning and every night too. So, and that is usually me closing my eyes. I can usually feel where the sun is, even if it's on the other side of the planet. I know where it is. And then you just pull that energy, and then I shield. I use that to shield my house, my cars, my puppy, me, my technology, this thing. I even shield this thing because it can get messed with easily. So it's just a great thing to do every day. It takes just a couple minutes, and that's usually the first thing I do before I meditate, is shield, because I want to make sure that I'm going through my heart center. Drop your consciousness into your heart center and then go through there. your heart energy is where your soul sits, and then you'll be less likely to be messed with. So those are my little tips, my little backstory, and my thoughts for the day. So thanks so much for joining me. Please keep watching. If anybody you think would be interested, please feel free to send them a link. I don't know if I know at first I wasn't able to be searched, so I probably still am not. I don't see myself unshadow banned anytime soon, so I'm saying controversial things that controllers don't like. So, thank you so much. Oh, and my email is underneath my name now, zfrequency@gmail. If you have any questions or comments or anything that you'd like me to cover, or like my take on, just let me know.